All right, here we are. Get back over here. What's up, Chris? We got a bunch of people joining tonight. That's awesome. We're going to do a fun cocktail tonight. It's extremely simple cocktail, but it sounds fancy, and it's vodka based. So I know vodka tends to get a bad rap, but for those folks that come over to your house and they're just like, I can't hang with the whiskey, I can't do this, I got a drink that has a lot of alcohol in it, that tastes like there's no alcohol in it, and it's fantastic. Hey, what up, Tyler? Super excited. So I'm assuming that you guys can all hear me okay. Do a little sound mic check on there. My kids are being a little crazy running up the stairs right now. All right. Do a little quick overview of everything we got. So I got my ice, I remembered it. Got the shaker. All my bar tools are out. I got my basil, my lemon, honey syrup, everything going. And got the lights up. So we're ready to go. Tonight we're going to be talking about muddling and what you need to do when it comes time to specifically muddling, like basil, mint, those types of things. All right. Well, it looks like we've got quite a few people on here. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and mount you guys up, and we'll get started on this. Chris, yes. Making it with me tonight. So I know that you reached out to me and you specifically asked for the ingredients ahead of time. So I gave those to you, and I'm excited, man. I'm super excited that you're going to be making this with me tonight. So hopefully you'll be able to follow along. It's super simple, man. It's like, what do we got? 3 ingredients here. So we're good to go. All right, let's mount you guys up. So as always, once I got you up on the tripod, I'm not going to be able to see the screen. So if you're answering any questions or anything like that during the process, I'm not going to be able to answer, but I will scroll back through and read some of the comments and some of the things that you have asked during this process. All right, so tonight's cocktail is going to be the honey basil sour. Like I said earlier, it's a vodka-based cocktail. And we are going to be introducing everyone to some muddling tonight. This particular cocktail, I don't know where I got it from. It's in my book, so it's in my travel book. And if there's a cocktail in this book, that means it's kind of tried and proven, meaning that I've made it, at least a dozen times and people have loved it. And so I want to say that it could have been from some shenanigans sometime where neighbors were over and we were experimenting with cocktails and experimenting with different things, and that's what came about. But one thing that I'm excited about with this cocktail is we actually are going to be using a honey syrup. And what I like about honey syrup is that it never goes bad. So like when you make a simple syrup or some of the other syrups like a grenadine or things like that, they tend to go bad after a couple months. You can put some vodka in them to kind of make their shelf life last a little bit longer, keep them in the fridge so it slows that process down. But one great thing about honey is it is naturally antibacterial. And so because it doesn't go bad. So this particular honey syrup that we're going to be using tonight is a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning that I just took equal parts honey and equal parts water. I put them in sort of a pot on the stove and simmered it really quick. It doesn't take any time at all, maybe a minute, just till it gets all mixed in. And then I just poured that out into my special little kind of like medicine style bottles that I have. And there you have it. So like I was saying, we're going to be using a muddler tonight, and we're going to do some muddling. There's not really any technique to muddling. I mean, you're just going to basically put what you're going to muddle in the bottom of your tin, and you're going to mash it down. However, when you are muddling, you want to make sure that you don't overdo it, especially when you're using things like mint, or in tonight's case, basil, because you can really bruise the leaves if you go at it too hard, and then it leaves a very kind of grassy taste to your cocktail. So you do want to get in there and you want to kind of express some of those, oils out of the leaves, but you want to do it too much because, like I said, it will leave kind of a funky flavor to it. The only other thing that I want to mention when it comes to muddling is if you are going to muddle, you want to make sure that your muddler does not have any kind of varnish or lacquer on it. Some of the fancier muddlers and stuff that are out there, or people think that they could use it as a muddler, tend to have some sort of varnish or lacquer on it. and that can over time come off into your cocktail and also leave an unpleasant taste. So make sure you just have something natural wood. If you don't want to be fancy and go out and buy a muddler, just use a regular old wooden spoon that you have in the kitchen, and that'll work just fine. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start building this cocktail. All right, so first things first is I'm going to get my honey syrup. So this calls for 1 ounce of honey syrup. So for those of you following along, we're going to do 1 ounce of your honey syrup. And just remember, that's a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning 1 part honey to 1 part water. After you get your 1 ounce of honey syrup, you're going to grab your basil, and you're just going to kind of tear off, anywhere from 4 to 5 leaves. That's a pretty big one. So get here, 2, 3, 4. Let's throw a little one in there for fun. Let's do that, 5. And then what you're going to do is you're going to grab your muddler. So now that you have your 1 ounce of honey syrup and you have 4 to 5 basil leaves, you're going to grab your muddler and you're just going to start kind of pushing and twisting as you muddle your cocktail. Now, if you're using berries to do muddling and stuff like that, berries you can just go ahead and get in there and completely smash them up. But when you're doing basil or mint, you don't want to do it too long. What you'll notice is just after probably, 6 or 7 kind of passes, it all sort of kind of congeals down at the bottom and kind of gets buried in that honey syrup. And I'm going to see if I can show you kind of what that looks like. So you'll notice that I didn't go too long, but you'll see that they're not like brown and smashed down in there. They're just kind of, you start to just get that basil aroma coming out really, really strong from the tin. So after you have your muddling, now it's time to continue building our cocktail. So I'm going to go ahead and add our lemon juice. Now this calls for 1 ounce of lemon. So I'm going to go ahead and get that going. Well, this one's not giving me a yield. Whoops. That's why it's live. It's fun. All right, so we got our 1 ounce. So add the 1 ounce of lemon juice. And then this calls for 2 ounces of vodka. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my vodka. When it comes to vodka, a lot of people tend to, skip over this. It's a neutral grain spirit, right? So if they're doing their vodka right, it doesn't taste like anything. It's pretty flavorless. My favorite vodka that I like to use for mixing is a good old Tito's. To me, it has a very clean and crisp vodka taste. So, not a lot of flavor at all. It doesn't have like that astringency that you can kind of get in some of the vodkas, or that overpowering kind of smell of alcohol that you can get with some of the vodkas. And it's very affordable to mix with. That's my favorite go-to. I do have another vodka out that I want to show real quick. This is one that's actually a local one. This is California Courage Vodka. It's made by 7 Stills, which they do a lot of whiskey, and they do a lot of distillate where they take some different kinds of beers and they turn those into whiskeys, and they actually add some flavorings and stuff like that. Really small bottles, really cool labels, but this vodka is absolutely outstanding. It's probably the cleanest, crispest vodka I've ever tasted. Phenomenal. A little expensive though to be mixing with, but I do enjoy that from time to time when I'm looking for something, very light and refreshing. All right, so now that we have our 1 ounce of honey syrup, 1 ounce of lemon juice, 2 ounces of vodka, we're going to go ahead and add our ice. We'll go ahead and shake, and then we are going to strain this out. I will say that because we're using basil in this cocktail, it does tend to break up quite a bit when you're shaking, and so we will absolutely be using that fine mesh strainer tonight to get all the last little bits of basil that are in there. All right, let's give it a shake. All right, now that we got that shaken up, once again, go ahead and grab my fine mesh strainer, and then we'll get this going in the coupe glass. It's really cool. The basil turns it kind of a nice greenish hue. It's just the perfect amount for this coupe glass too. So you'll notice there's a bunch of little basil bits in there. That's what you're catching when you get in there. That fine mesh strainer. All right, and last up, we'll go ahead and garnish this with a basil leaf. Float that right on top. And there you have it. Honey Basil Sour. Oh man, this is going to be good. Oh, delicious. Super refreshing. All right, I'm going to go grab you and take a look. See if anyone has any questions. Oh man, woo! Super fun. You guys see me spill my lemon juice? All right, let me scroll back. Robbie, come over, man. We're due for some cocktails tonight. Why aren't you here already? Dan, what's up, man? I know how much you love Tito's. Tito's with an ice cube. You guys. So, American Whiskey Podcast. I used a honey syrup. So, it's equal parts honey to water. So, I think I used 3 tablespoons of honey, and then I did 3 tablespoons of water. And I got that mixed together to make my honey syrup. And like I was mentioning earlier, super awesome because it doesn't go bad. Because it's antibacterial naturally in honey, so it lasts forever. Yeah, I spilled my lemon juice, but good thing I was able to get another ounce out of it. All right, Chris, did you make it? Were you successful? Were you able to get your honey basil sour made and drinking it? Could you infuse the basil with a honey syrup ahead of time? It's possible you could. I mean, I don't see why not. I've done a lot of syrup infusions, so I would say, yeah, most likely you could. Hey, Bone into the Future, what's up, man? Use lime and agave instead to make a basil gimlet. Very good. Yes, you could, absolutely. There's a lot of popular recipes that call for lime juice instead of lemon. I tend to like my cocktails a little bit more tart. So you'll sort of find that as a trend with me, as I tend to look for more tart characteristics in my cocktail when I'm using juices. It's actually really good. Love the honey. Yeah, the honey really shines in this. I mean, vodka, there's a reason we're using it because it sort of takes on the characteristics of what you're mixing into it. And so, you have that nice earthy, tone from the basil. You have a nice tart citrus from the lemon. And then that honey syrup, is sweet, but because you're doing a syrup where it's 1-to-1 with water, it kind of tames that like super sticky sweetness of honey and just kind of melds it out so you get all the very good sweet characteristics of the honey in the drink. And then that vodka just basically doesn't exist in it after you make it. Can you taste the vodka, Chris? But yeah, it's an absolute delicious drink. Anyone have any other questions out there? Yeah, can't taste the vodka. This is a dangerous one. This is one where you, when your house guests come over and you're making cocktails and you bust this one out, they're going to drink this extremely fast. And that's 2 ounces of vodka that they just had. So they're going to want another cocktail really quick after that. And then after 2, the night's going to get really fun. What kind of honey do I recommend? Just any honey that you have. It could be local honey. It could be clover honey. It's really up to you. I think the honey that I used was a local honey that we had out here. Right on, Robbie. I'll look forward to seeing you later today. I'll make you one of these cocktails when you get over here tonight. Is that the type of glass I'd recommend serving it in? So you guys will probably start to notice that I'm a huge fan of the coupe glass. I just think it looks a little bit more elegant when you're making cocktails. I'm gonna give you guys another shot of the honey basil sour. These are actually antique champagne glasses that I'm using that I got at an estate sale. So that's just my favorite type of glassware to use, but you could pretty much use any type of glass you wanted to. Because you got more of that open bowl at the top, you're going to get a lot more of that aromatic from that basil that's floating around as a garnish. But yeah, you could do anything. I have some small juice glasses. I believe they're like, I want to say 4-ounce juice glasses, the little shorty ones. And those are also really fun glasses that I like to pour cocktails into. It's just small, so it fills up to the top, so you don't have a lot of extra space in the glass. To me, it just looks more appealing. I did not crush the basil before putting it in. I just kind of floated it on top. There's already a lot of strong basil aromatics coming out of the cocktail because we did muddling with the basil in the beginning. So I pulled 4 to 5 basil leaves off, threw that in with the honey syrup. I muddled it and then shook it. And so you get a ton of basil on the nose. So if I were to slap that basil and stick it on top, it probably wouldn't hurt it too bad, but you would definitely get a lot more of a stronger basil aroma coming out of this. So Kentucky Firewater, over muddling can lead to bitterness with herbs. Yes, over muddling with any kind of a vegetal, whatever you're using, whether it be basil, mint. I'm trying to think of the common ones that people use. Rosemary is another one. If you tend to over muddle, it can get a little bitter. And it gives it like a grassy note. You'll know right away if you've over muddled your drink because it tastes like grass a little bit. Local honey is good to use. It helps fight allergies. Yeah, it does. Is it Mick Shim? Mick Shim? Right on, man. Thanks for joining from Canada. This is a good one. So, I'll repeat it. It's 1 ounce honey syrup, 1 ounce lemon juice, 2 ounces of vodka. You're going to muddle 4 to 5 basil leaves with a honey syrup. Then you're going to add your lemon, 2 ounces of vodka, shake, 5 mesh strain, and there you have your honey basil sour. Have I tried mint instead of basil in this recipe? I haven't. So that might be an interesting one to see how that plays out. I would think that would, it's kind of a play on a mojito. This is kind of a play on a mojito. So I would say it would probably have more of a mojito characteristic if I used the mint in it, but it would probably be really good. All right, good question, guys. I know these go quick. This cocktail especially, it's a very simple one. There's basically, 3 ingredients, 4 if you count the basil. That you muddle. So pretty simple. All right. So as always, if there's a cocktail request, something that you'd like to see, the theme over the last few weeks is I've kind of introduced you guys to new cocktail methods. So we've done dry shaking in one. Tonight we did muddling. I think before we did stirring. A bunch of techniques. All those are on YouTube. The YouTube link's in my profile. So if you want to go check those out and watch this crazy madness again, you're more than welcome. Chris, it's called the Honey Basil Sour. Or you can call it the Basil Honey Sour if you want to. It's up to you. Melissa, I will send Robbie home with one. That'll be easy. All right, everyone. Once again, thanks for joining. I appreciate you guys joining the fun tonight, and this will be posted to YouTube probably tonight. So if you missed it or you want to go back and watch me make it, you're more than welcome to. With that being said, I'll see you next week. I'll post the recipe on Instagram tonight. See ya.